Coach.
Thanks, Kevin. Excited to be here again. Certainly had a great week of practice. Our players are excited for the opportunity to play in what we always say is one of the greatest sporting events in all of college football. I think the history and tradition of the SEC speaks for itself. I know being a South Georgia boy growing up, it was probably the biggest game you look forward to seeing every year because the champion of this conference has carried itself well for many years, especially in the public eye. So our players have earned the right to be here. We're excited. I got a lot of respect for the LSU team that we're about to play. I think Coach Ogeron and his staff have done a tremendous job. Number one, recruiting, but also developing the players they have into a system that really fits what they do. So got a lot of respect for him, and looking forward to an awesome game and an awesome atmosphere.
Thank you, Coach. If you have a question, raise your hand. Mariana and Kelly will get a microphone to you. We'd ask that you give your name and affiliation. Questions for Coach? Okay, we've got one back over here to our left, Coach.
Brandon Adams from Dog Nation. You've got some freshmen you play on defense, some wide receivers as well. Given this is the 13th game of the season, how much do you see growth from them? How different as a freshman at the end of the year in a game like this than from where things started?
Well, they got a lot more confidence from the first game, but you do always say, okay, this game's a pretty big game, and how does that impact those guys? And each year we've been here, we've had freshmen that have gotten better throughout the year, and I think have developed throughout the year. I think back to last year defensively, I know we had guys play major roles towards the end of the season, and then that's kind of been the same way this year defensively, with several guys having an impact throughout the year. And offensively, same way with the young group of wide receivers and the skill guys have been able to help us. I think that's big. But when you play in the SEC and you play these week in and week out really tough, hard-fought games, those guys have gotten accustomed to these kind of battles throughout the year.
Okay, Kelly, we have one all the way here on the front row. We'll get a microphone to you.
Murray Poole, Bulldog Illustrated. Kirby, I know Chase and Jefferson down the field, two great receivers, but a lot of times Joe Burrow likes to dump it off to Clyde, Hilaire, and so what kind of pressure is that going to put on your defensive backs and linebackers to defend that well when they like to throw to him the little short pass and make big gainers out of the backfield?
Yeah, they got a lot of guys they can throw it to. The three you mentioned are tremendous, and they're really good at getting those three guys the ball. But they have so many weapons, and then, if you just so happen to cover them all, Joe Burrow is one heck of an athlete, and he can hurt you with his feet. So, I mean, it's a great opportunity. I mean, when you watch tape on them, you have nothing but respect for what they've been able to do, because I know the caliber of the defenses they're doing it against. Those are good defenses that they're out there putting up 40, 50, 60 points on, and they've done a tremendous job.
Coach will go right in front of me, about 4 rows back.
Hey, Kirby, Justin Felder, Fox 5 Atlanta. I remember you spoke after the Florida game about spending some time with Jake, just kind of checking in on him. One, have you kind of continued that throughout the year? And two, how has Jake Fromm grown and progressed in your eyes through this season?
Not to the level I haven't been able to continue. I mean, I see him every day at practice. We obviously share time together, but we haven't gone to lunch or do anything like that. With the schedule we've had, it's a little tough to keep. It's more of my free time comes on off weeks. But Jake's been a tremendous leader. He always has been. He shoulders blame and gives credit, and I think that's what strong leaders do. He's a tremendous person, and He's done a great job with our offense of making sure they're in the right football play, and I don't think everybody understands the pressure that he carries and the burden that he carries to do a lot of that each game. He does a lot of film work and a lot of film study to do that, and I'm really proud of the way he's been able to handle everything this year.
Okay, we'll go right in front of me again, second row.
Hey, Coach Jacques Doucet, WAFB-TV in Baton Rouge. When I've heard you speak of Coach Ogeron, you spoke very highly of him. It seems like coaches generally have a high respect for one another. Can you speak to the job he's done after what happened at Ole Miss and how a lot of people counted him out after that?
Yeah, I mean, you could say this. In the coaching profession, everybody has respect for Coach O. Number one, he's a great person. He's fun to be around. He's an elite recruiter. I remember as a young coach, the first times that I ever heard of Coach O, you would hear stories, and they were just crazy stories. I mean, you heard all these things, and he's got such a charisma about him and a character about him that you enjoy being around him. I have the great fortune of every SEC meeting of having F on my left, Florida, and L on my right, Louisiana. So I get to sit between those two guys, and it's definitely a big contrast. And I enjoy getting to visit with Coach O.
Okay, Coach, we'll go over to our right, third row.
Dan Matthews, Dog Time, and 6A The Fan. Joe Burrow, when he was coming out of high school, did you know much about him? And I know when he was a graduate transfer, you weren't really in the market for him. But, I mean, was there any interaction with him during those times?
No, I can't say that. I mean, we didn't really recruit him out of high school. And I actually think when he was coming out of high school, I may have been in Alabama. That was during the year he was getting recruited to go to Ohio State. And then, no, we did not recruit him as a grad transfer or wasn't aware of him coming out. But pretty amazing the talent that he has and how much he has developed. I mean, it goes to show you that a lot of these quarterbacks, they get better and better and better. And when the perfect quarterback meets the perfect system with some really good skill players around it, that's what you combine to get.
We'll go back over to our left, about 5 rows back.
Yeah, Brooks Austin with Sports Illustrated's Bulldog Maven. Kirby, I'm just curious, how important is it to have a guy like J.R. Reed, a vocal leader in the back end, that can correctly align guys and make sure they're in the proper situation, and especially against an offense like LSU's you're going to face tomorrow?
Yeah, he's critical. I think that you always say that point guards are the leaders of the basketball team and things like that. Quarterbacks on offense, well, those safeties on defense are the guys that have to be your signal callers. They got to get the signal, then they got to take that signal and apply it to the formation, and then they got to apply the rules for that week, and they've got to put people in the right place and make signals back to the people in front of them. So there's a direct line of communication going on, and JR and Richard have been able to handle those things. And we put a lot of pressure on them because we want to give kids tools to be successful. And when you play a really good team like this, you can't line up in the same thing over and over. They certainly do a great job of exposing weaknesses.
Okay, we're going to stay in the same spot, just right next to him.
Coach Matt Trent, WBRZ TV in Baton Rouge. Every year you guys play Florida in these neutral site games, and that gives you a chance to play in these big stadiums. How much of an advantage do you think that has for this game, especially since LSU hasn't played a neutral site game this year?
Yeah, last time I checked, LSU plays in some big stadiums. So, I mean, they play in Tiger Stadium. They get to go play in Jordan-Hare Stadium. They get to go play in Tuscaloosa. They play in some incredible venues. I get your point about neutral site, but, I mean, would you rather play in a neutral site game or would you rather play on a road game in the SEC? I think neutral site games kind of even things out. It's not the same level of crowd noise that you have. I've always thought in Jacksonville, neither team had to deal with real crowd noise because it's not all of one or all of the other. And that to me is tougher. I mean, it's tougher for us to play at home defensively because we communicate a lot and it's really loud. When we go on the road, it's tougher on offense. When you go to neutral site, I mean, yeah, it can get loud, but it's not to the point that it affects the game as much, in my opinion.
Okay, we'll go over here to the right, about midway back.
Kevin Feigl, WRDW in Augusta, Georgia. How much weight do you put in your guys having experience playing in this game and this atmosphere and even a playoff game?
Yeah, I don't know that you put weight in it. I just think when you play in the SEC, the games you play in, you put LSU plays Texas. You know, the atmosphere for that game. The LSU goes through the gauntlet of their season. We go through the gauntlet of our season. In the SEC, these games are essentially championship games every week. Because if you don't win them, you're not in the championship. So they're very competitive. It's really like another week that you've got to go out and perform and play because you're playing the best from the other side. So I don't get that there's a competitive advantage for either team having played in this kind of game or this venue.
Okay, we'll go right up here front to Chip.
Kirby, I guess I'll be the guy to ask that. What has DeAndre's progress been like this week, and do you feel like he'll be 100%, or if not, how close to 100% you think he'll be playing it?
I think it's hard to measure from practice because at this point in the season, you don't go out there and do live drills and tackle and hit and do all those things. I mean, we practiced against each other, and he's practiced. He's done everything we've asked him to do. So I'm excited to see him go play and have an expectation that he'll play well.
Okay, we'll go to the back right, in the back of the room.
Emily Gagnon, CBS 46 Atlanta. With that said, Coach, I know throughout the season you've touched on this. Brian Harrion, just how pleased you've been with how he's progressed throughout the season, and just, I mean, he's a difference maker.
Yeah, he's an incredible story of a kid that went from not even signing anywhere on signing date to coming to Georgia. And if I could count the number of carries he's gotten that weren't in a game, because he carried the ball so long when Nick and Sony were there, and he took so much pride in getting every carry. He was patient last year behind Holyfield and Swift, and he's earned his right, and he runs with a level of passion that I respect, and he's been a really good leader for our team.
Okay, we'll go all the way in the back, right in front of me.
Jamarcus Fitzpatrick with KALB in Alexandria. Coach, we talk a lot about LSU's offense and the way that they pass the ball, but how do you guys particularly plan on stopping the run game, especially with Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
Well, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is one of the best backs I've seen in this conference. I mean, he's got a presence about him, ability to run pass routes, to break tackles. He does a tremendous job. They use him really well. He complements what they do because he is a pass receiver, and he's a tremendous runner. So, you know, it'll be a challenge. I have great respect for them, and they broke about every record there is in the SEC offensively, and it'll be a challenge for us. And I know our defense is excited about that opportunity.
Okay, we'll go right here in front to Brooks.
Hey, Brooks Capino from The Advocate. Last year you guys went against LSU. How much different is this team here, and what can you say about their turnaround as a full schematic team?
Yeah, extremely different. I mean, you can see remnants, small elements, but the unique thing now is they're really just doing whatever they want to do. I mean, they don't have to do anything. They do what they want to do, and whatever they want to do, they've been really successful at in all the games. I mean, outside of maybe the Auburn game, they did whatever they wanted to do, whereas last year they were probably a little bit more predictable, and they wanted to be a little more run-oriented. They've gotten to where now it's, you know, they can do what they want to do offensively, and they've been successful doing that.
Okay, we'll go here on the left on the aisle.
The other day, Dabo Swinney made a comparison to his team's playoff resume compared to how the media and the selection committee treats your team's playoff resume. How much do you think an SEC team deserves the benefit of the doubt and a playoff conversation on the basis of the perceived depth of the league?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. It's a great question for media and for talking heads, but it's not a great question for me because we have to go out on the field and play and perform, and that's really where I try to focus. So I try not to let any of that outside noise affect how we prepare.
Okay, we're going to go here to our right in the second row.
Hey, Kirby, Mark Weiser, Athens Banner Herald. You said you're excited to be here again. How routine does that get? What's it like to do it back to back to back? And how much does it raise the bar for you guys in terms of what you hope to get out of this end of the season?
Well, I'm excited to be here because I love the venue. I love the opportunity to go play in it. It also means that you did something, you accomplished something, you won your division. I don't think you'll ever take that for granted. I think if you ask any SEC coach that's had the opportunity to come here, whether it was 2 years in a row, 3 years in a row, or whatever it was, it's earned. You earned that, and our kids have done that. So it's not something that we take lightly or take for granted. It is something that we expect to do, and we're going to always set that as a bar because for us, this is where you go to go take the next step, and that's important for us.
Coach, we'll go over here to our left, third row.
Kirby, Jed May, Macon Telegraph. Now that you're at this point in the season, looking back, how much did that loss to South Carolina and adopting a playoff-type mentality after that, how much, if any, did that help you guys get to this point in the season, and does it help you tomorrow at all?
I don't know. I think we learned a lot about ourselves from that game, but, you say you play with your backs against the wall. Your back's against the wall every week because in this league and this really format of college football, it only takes one sometimes. And you lose control of the things around you if you don't perform well, and you start hoping and wishing on other people. So it probably was better for an awakening internally for some guys and for team members than it was the overall our backs are against the wall because you're in playoff mode every week in the SEC.
Okay, we're going to stay over here on the left. Scott.
Scott Rappley from the Baton Rouge Advocate. Kirby, what shaped you or influenced you from your early days as an assistant coach at LSU that you still carry on today?
Man, those are some early days. It's my first, full-time coaching job in the SEC, and was really young. And coming into Nick's staff was an awakening in itself. It was an exciting. It was a year of growth for me, and I still relish the memories and the people. Every time we've played LSU, you see people that are still part of the program, and have a lot of respect for the LSU administration, the people that were there when I worked there, and it's a tremendous place. They love their football.
Coach, we'll go back over here on the right, in the middle, third row.
Dan Matthews again. Is it pretty remarkable what Joe Brady and Steve Ensminger have been able to do pretty much with just a fall camp and everything to be able to have the offense progress like it has, not only now, but even from the beginning of the season?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a complicated system that they do. What it is it is some tremendous chess pieces that are doing it. When you add together a quarterback, a back, an offensive line that has 5 returning starters, and an unbelievable group of wide receivers, you can do a lot of things and be successful. What they're doing is putting a package together that matches exactly what you need. An athletic quarterback that can move around in the pocket, that can make plays, extend plays. I mean, he scrambles for first downs left and right. But then on top of that, you got a guy that can make good decisions when he's getting 5 out every play, and he's using the weapons he has. So, they don't sit there and beat people with scheme now. They don't go out there and say, okay, we're going to scheme this. They run very similar plays from different formations, but they're highly, highly efficient at doing it.
Okay, we'll go right here in front of me, Brooks.
Following up on that, it seems like they adjust well over 4 quarters. How difficult is it to confuse them and keep them from adjusting?
Yeah, they've done well in the first quarters too. So, I mean, they score a lot of points throughout the game. So I do think they find good matchups, they find adjustments, they find things they can do. But there's been you don't have to adjust a lot when you're scoring at the rate they're scoring. Look, they're a high octane, very efficient, very effective. When you go through a breakdown and you're looking for more third downs and you can't find them, that's usually a sign somebody's pretty good, because they're not getting a third down very often.
Okay, we'll go back over here to the right.
Hey, Kirby, Augusta Stone, Red and Black. So you hear a lot about LSU's offense all the time, but what kind of challenges do you see that their defense poses for the offense, just from a perspective of LSU's defense, not exactly how Georgia's offense will perform?
Yeah, they have an incredible group of guys who play better and better and better. You can tell they're playing with a chip on their shoulder. The last 2 or 3 weeks, they have pass rush with a different dynamic. They're using their athletic guys to rush the passer. They've got a tremendous secondary that, we got to watch them. I got to see them more on tape. As we played Auburn and we played Florida, you could see the talent that LSU had in the secondary, because they were able to put their hands on people and cover, what we knew were 2 really good teams. And got a lot of respect for Dave Aranda and their staff, and they've got their guys playing really well now.
Okay, we have 2 final questions over on this side. We'll start with Mike.
Mike Griffith, Dog Nation. Yeah, Kirby, so much made of all the LSU star power. Your defense, is it oversimplifying to say it's a no-name defense, or are there some rising stars and guys that you would point to as keys for Georgia's season?
Yeah, people have kind of said that about them. I don't think there's not that dominant personality or dominant player, but there's a lot of good football players that buy into it, and we play a lot of guys, so it's easy to kind of label it a no-name type defense. But I think they play so well together. They play so hard. They buy into the game plan, and they're unselfish. I mean, there's a lot of guys that have been unselfish. There are some talented young players on it that I think are going to be really good. But for the most part, it's led by older players.
Okay, we'll take one final question here in front on the left.
Anthony Dasher, UGAsports.com. Coach, you just talked about LSU's offense and how they get off to a quick start in the first quarter. For your team, how imperative is going to be for you to kind of match that intensity, match what they're going to throw at you right off the bat?
Well, it's always important. You want to get off to a good start. That's a big key to every game. You don't want to lose momentum early. You want to be able to maintain that and start out aggressive and handle it well. And, every coach wants to start that way. So a lot of that is how prepared are your kids? How well can you adjust in game? And how well can you handle adversity? Because both teams will face adversity in this game, and a lot of that is how you respond to it.
All right, Coach, thank you for your time. We'll take a short break and come back with the photo op here in just a minute.